Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a hilarious story for you about a clever man named Bahlul and an unexpected twist at a party hosted by a judge. It's a tale filled with wit, wisdom, and a sprinkle of chaos. So let's dive into this entertaining story. The tale of Bahlul and the judge's party. One night, Bahlul was hosting a guest at his home when a messenger arrived with a message from the judge. The judge wanted Bahlul to join him for dinner that night. Bahlul, however, politely declined, saying, "Please tell the judge I can't come, I have a guest." The messenger returned shortly and said, "The judge insists that both you and your guest come. He welcomes him with open arms." So Bahlul and his guest set off for the judge's party. As they walked, Bahlul advised his guests, "Pay attention to where I sit and sit there too. Eat what I eat and don't say a word unless someone asks you something." His guest chuckled to himself, thinking, "Look at this fool giving me advice." Upon arriving at the judge's house, they found it bustling with guests. Bahlul sat by the door while his guest took a seat at the top of the room. As more guests arrived, they pushed Bahlul up to the front, leaving his guest at the entrance. When dinner was served, the guests enjoyed their meal, but when fruits were brought out, there were no knives to peel them. Just then, Bahlul's guest revealed a beautiful golden-handled knife from his pocket, exclaiming, "Use this knife to peel your fruits." Everyone was astonished at the sight of such a magnificent knife, especially since Bahlul's guest looked quite poor. Among the guests were 6 brothers who recognized the knife. The eldest turned to the judge and said, "Your Honor, this knife belonged to our father and has been missing for years. We demand that you retrieve it from this man." The judge asked, "Do you have witnesses?" The eldest brother replied, "I have my 5 brothers here who will confirm my words." They all supported his claim, convincing the judge that the knife indeed belonged to them. Feeling convinced, the judge ordered that Bahlul's guest be taken to prison and the knife returned to the brothers. But Bahlul, who had been silent until now, interjected, "Your Honor, this man is my guest. Please allow him to stay with me tonight. I promise to bring him to you in the morning." The eldest brother protested, "No, don't let him take him home. He'll teach him things that will ruin our claim." Turning to Bahlul, the judge asked, "Will you promise not to teach him anything?" Bahlul replied, "I promise I won't say a word to him tonight." The judge agreed, and Bahlul took his guest home, not saying a word during the walk. Once home, Bahlul whispered, "Let me check on your donkey. It must be hungry." The guest, forgetting about his donkey, said, "No, you rest. I'll go check on it." Without answering, Bahlul went to the stable, picked up a stick, and hit the donkey. The poor donkey, startled by the pain, began to move around. Bahlul scolded it, "Didn't I tell you to be quiet and stay seated? You've gotten both of us into trouble. Tomorrow you'll be in prison and everyone will say that Bahlul couldn't even keep his guest safe." Bahlul hit the poor donkey harder and said, "Hey donkey, listen. Tomorrow if the judge asks you if this knife belongs to you, say no. I found this knife and have been looking for its owner for a long time to return it, but unfortunately I couldn't find the owner. If this knife belongs to these 6 brothers, I will give it to them. If the judge asks you where you found this knife, tell him, my father was a great caravan leader years ago and always traveled between cities, carrying a lot of merchandise and trading with it. Then one night, we learned that thieves had killed my father and taken his things. I was present at my poor father's side. The thieves had killed him, and they took all his possessions, and this knife was buried to the hilt in my father's heart. I picked up the knife, buried my father, and since then I've been searching for my father's killer. At every gathering I show this knife and wait for the owner to appear so I can find my father's murderer. Oh judge, I have now found my father's killer. These 6 brothers killed my father and took his possessions. Order them to return my father's property and to pay for my father's blood." Bahlul was saying these words to the donkey, and the donkey's owner was listening to him. He hit the donkey again and said, "Hey donkey, did you understand, or should I keep beating you until morning?" The owner of the donkey said, "Oh Bahlul dear, not only did this donkey understand your words, but I also understood them, and I promise you that I will not sit in any gathering above my status, and if no one asks me anything, I will not speak, and if they don't request anything from me, I will not act." Bahlul, having made sure that the man had well understood his words, went and easily fell asleep. The next morning, Bahlul woke the man and took him to the judge and handed him over before returning. The judge turned to the man and asked, "Oh man, does this knife belong to you?" The man replied, "No, this knife is not mine. I have been looking for the owner of this knife for a long time to return it. If this knife belongs to these brothers, I willingly give it to them." The judge turned to the 6 brothers and said, "Look at the knife. If it belongs to you, take it." The eldest brother picked up the knife and smiled happily, saying, "Oh judge, I am sure this knife is the last knife of my father." The other 5 brothers passed the knife around and said, "Yes, oh honorable judge, this knife is definitely our father's last knife." The judge asked the man, "Oh man, where did you find this knife?" In response, the man explained everything he had learned the previous night about the knife and concluded, "Oh judge, these 6 brothers killed my father and took his possessions. Order them to return my father's property and to pay for my father's blood." The 6 brothers exchanged glances. They were in a terrible predicament, and because of their false claims, they now had to face the consequences as murderers and thieves, likely spending years in prison. The eldest brother said, "Oh judge, I am not very sure this knife belongs to my father because many years have passed since that date, and I may have made a mistake." The other brothers reluctantly confirmed his words, saying that the knife only resembled their father's knife but did not belong to him. The judge laughed for a long time and said to the guest, "Oh man, take your knife and go to Bahlul." The man, prostrated in thanks, picked up the knife and left. And that, my friends, is the story of Bahlul and the judge's party. It reminds us that sometimes cleverness and a little bit of luck can turn the tables in unexpected ways. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more entertaining stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Until next time, stay clever and keep smiling.